A brief message from your friendly neighborhood editing Jordan. We tend to try to keep things pretty PG-13 around here, but this is an improv podcast. So, who knows what we're going to say. Sometimes we throw in some swearing, some sexual content, and some violence. So, as a general warning, viewer discretion is advised. Also to be noted, the opinions stated about a certain tabletop role-playing game are just that, our opinions. We love the game and we like talking about it. So, any criticisms are really just all in good fun. That being said, wizards, please hire us. All right, with that out of the way, let's get on with the show.
Ice cream.
You scream?
We all scream.
Cream. No, like,
My bones hurt.
You would.
Mint chocolate chip.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Needs more chocolate chip.
I like it when it's the mint ice cream, but then there's like a fudge swirl in it. I think that's the perfect amount of chocolate.
I didn't want mint fudge chocolate chip. I want mint chocolate chip. But I want
then
the
the
chocolate chip to be
But then the
more
chocolate
plentiful.
chips get all like hard and frozen.
Well, don't let them get that hard. You gotta soften that sucker up. You know? Make your chocolate chip flaccid.
No.
So what are we? Okay.
Yeah? Hey everybody, welcome to the Nat One Podcast, aka Nope, because nope, you're not gonna want to hear what we're about to have to say. I'm Pertuset.
I'm Levi.
And I'm Jordan.
What are we talking about per day?
Huh.
What are we talking about today, Pertuset?
Well, that's what I was just talking about. I was talking about my expectations of ice cream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mint chip is the best flavor.
But
So we're talking
D and D.
We're talking about expectations
In D&D.
in D&D.
Can I have mint chip ice cream in D&D?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll find it though.
that's my goal for Olympus too.
It's not called that anymore.
Might not be
New
for
title.
you,
Zeal.
but it is in my heart.
I'm gonna give your heart cardiac arrest if you don't call it Zeal.
It's gonna take time because originally we started calling it the Greek campaign until you beat us into submission calling it Olympus.
I never even wanted Olympus because that's not the setting.
Nah, it's Olympus.
It's Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
It's Vivia.
It'll
Why
be
can't
Olympus
I have
too.
Hesiod? But yeah. So let's think back. Levi, as the DM of our first campaign, for real, what were your expectations of us as players? I should preface while you're thinking about it to the audience. We're discussing expectations in D&D, but because that's such a wide and I don't know, all-encompassing idea, we can't really just say this is what your expectations should be, or
Yeah,
you know.
no.
So we're just going to talk about our experiences with it, and maybe you can take something from that.
Yeah.
Here's a useful tool. This is usually our mindset going into campaigns, and
Yeah.
we have had several successful 1 to 20 campaigns played as a group.
Yeah.
So,
Well, for campaign 1, when we're talking about campaign 1, are we talking about Vivia 2 or are we talking about Vivia?
I was talking about Vivia 2 because that was the one
Okay.
we played with rules.
Okay. When we started Vivia 2, I was going in with the expectations of, okay, we've done one campaign now. We played it wrong, but that's okay because we had fun and now we're going to play it right. And it's going to be interesting because we're going to be adding in rules and it might be iffy for some people, but that's okay. This is an experience we're all going to have together. We're all going to learn. We're all going to grow. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to try to tell a story that I want to tell again. This time, maybe just a little bit more thought out than the last one. Those were my expectations going in. I think most of them were fulfilled by the time we got to the end. I think, I got waggle fingered. Excuse me. No, was it? Okay. For me, most of them were fulfilled. by the end. I think because I was going in with the expectations of this is going to be a learning experience, I didn't have a lot of things that were like set in stone in my mind that I was like, this is something that has to happen no matter what. So whenever something would happen that like I would look back on and be like, man, I probably shouldn't have done that as a DM, and I'm not gonna do it in the future. I was looking at it with the mindset of it's a learning experience. That was something that maybe wasn't gonna happen, but it's okay that it happened because now I've learned from it, and I'll have an easier time avoiding that mistake in the future. And I also thought things about some of you guys when you would do things in character or like in a combat like that, where I was like, man, I hope they learned from that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask actually, as well as what were you received most of our character backstories before we started playing.
True.
What were your expectations of our characters upon like starting the game or right before starting?
Well, I wasn't expecting Pertuset's character Victor, who we've talked about a lot on this channel, to become such a hero by the end of the story.
Such a nice young man.
When Pertuset first gave me his backstory, which spoilers, although we're not gonna like, well, it might be it's fine. Victor's whole character was that he was a very misguided young man who believed that like the best way to make everyone happy was to kill everyone so they'd all get to go to heaven. And I thought that character arc was going to be prevalent for a lot longer than it was, of the I should kill people thing. But again, like I said earlier, kind of as consequence of both my own and your actions, because of me giving you the capability to do it, that character arc resolved a lot faster than I thought it was going to. And then when it resolved, Victor was kind of like, oh, wait a second. That's not a good thing. And then very quickly just kind of took the moral reins of the party, I think, at that point. Just because of Victor's nature as a character. He was very determined, both in his bad character arc, where he was like, I'm going to kill people, and then in his good character arc, where he was like, now I'm upset at this person who has betrayed me. I'm going to do everything in my power to bring them down, and as a consequence, pretty much be a good guy because of that. And because he was so determined to do so, it really steered a lot of the actions that the party took. For other characters, TJ's not here. But I will say TJ's character Finral his whole thing was he was exiled nobility. I thought there was going to be a lot more involvement in his story of trying to reclaim that past, because he was unlawfully exiled from his family and had false charges laid against him, and he was framed. But no, TJ just didn't seem interested in doing that at all for a large majority of the campaign. In fact, I even presented to him on a silver platter multiple things that were like, hey, your family now realizes that your brother, who is the person who framed you and got you banished, is a bad person, and they want you to come back from exile now and help them. And I don't want to say he wasn't interested in it, but I do feel like, which this is fine that he did this because he's the character, he has the agency to do what he wants. But I do feel like he dragged his feet in getting back into that story. I feel like he didn't really care about his familial ties and that past at all, really, and he was perfectly fine to have integrated himself into this new role as part of the party. Let's see. I'm trying to remember everyone's characters now. I had expectations for, well, I'll save that. Atlas, I really didn't know what was going to happen with Atlas, because Atlas,
Neither did I.
a lot of it was, we were trying to do a homebrew thing with the class, and it was weird. And you were a cleric, and then they came out with a bard subclass like a month into the campaign that probably would have been a better fit for you. That wasn't homebrew. And so it was kind of this weird hodgepodge of homebrew for a while, and then I don't remember how exactly we did it, but we settled into non-homebrew stuff for your character so that you could actually have a character sheet in D&D Beyond.
Oh, it's still partially homebrew.
And we were we were jumping kind of all over the place with it, and I think that also kind of translated into Atlas's story a little bit, because I certainly didn't think you were going to end up where you ended up by the end of it. And had we waited until that bard subclass came out, we wouldn't have ended up having a lot of the story beats in Atlas's story that did happen, because the whole focal point that ended up becoming part of Atlas's character story was that they were a godless cleric. They were a cleric that didn't devote themselves to a deity, which turned the ire of many other deities who didn't like that. They didn't like that someone had done that somehow, because it gave a lot of implications to if gods were necessary or not as a token of worship for people. And so a deity so kindly decided to become basically kind of like a warlock patron, honestly, in a way, to Atlas, which wouldn't have happened at all had you been a bard. That entire story would not have existed, because you would have gotten your magic from an entirely different source. And it would have been a whole different thing, and there would have been no interactions with the Feywild, and no interactions with Titania, and all that stuff that ended up happening down the line because of that. So for Atlas, my expectations were like kind of just like, let's see where this goes. And they were taken to a place that I did not think was going to be where it goes by the end of the campaign. Now I'll talk about the one I had expectations for. Nebulon.
Aaron. Yeah. The Nebulon.
Rest in pieces.
I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but I had this whole thing planned for Neb.
Oh no.
Because Taryn set it up for me in the beginning, where Taryn was like, I'm going to find my dad. I'm a half goblin. I don't know what's going on with that. And you were an artificer, so I was going to have it be a whole thing where, like, obviously your dad left and he wasn't present in your childhood, but I was going to have it be a whole thing where it actually turned out it wasn't like he was a bad guy. It was like because of a circumstance thing where he was like hounded away from you and your mom because he was like some kind of, I don't know if I also wanted to make him an artificer, or if I wanted him to be like some kind of intelligence-based character where he was like very intelligent, and so it was kind of like an apple doesn't fall too far from the tree thing. And there was going to be this whole thing where like you had to go on a series of chases to find him, because he was going to be like forced to be working for an antagonist of some kind. Again, it was very early on, so I hadn't like ironed out who he was going to be forced to be working for or anything. I just knew that that's like what I roughly wanted to do. And then it was going to be this whole thing where, like, once you finally got to him, like that bad guy who was forced, it was going to be like scorched earth. If I can't have him, no one can have him, and they were going to kill him. But then, like right at the very end, he was going to be like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, Neb. You've come so far and done so much for a man you never knew." And then he was going to die, and it was going to be like sad, right? And everyone was going to be like, "Oh," and it was going to be great. And then Neb died in the fucking first session of the campaign.
Second session.
Yeah, Taryn?
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's what I had.
I can only imagine what Vivia 2 would have been like had Neb stayed as a character 1 to
It would have
20.
been so much different.
It would be so drastically different. I can't even fathom.
Yeah.
Right.
like-
You can only imagine.
True.
I can't. I genuinely do not know what that looks like.
Well,
So
imagine
that's
as much
what
as
my
you can.
expectations for Neb were going in
And
the first
Neb
2 sessions of the
got-
campaign.
Neb got bricked. Like,
Neb. No. Neb did the bricking
yeah.
and got brutalized because of the brick. So yeah, that's I mean, I guess I could also talk about Dylan's character, but honestly, it was kind of just a spur of the moment thing where I had never seen him play before. And so I was like, I have no idea what he's going to do, but he's been a DM before and I've seen him play NPCs. So I know he can play a character. I just have no idea what he wants to shoot for. And then we got Saladin, which was a pleasant surprise, I thought. So that's me.
Valid in it.
That was my expectations.
Hmm.
Now it's our turn.
True.
Indeed.
Jordan, what were your expectations for Vivia 2?
So, like,
All right, Tara,
as a
check it. No,
whole, or just for my character, or both?
both.
Okay. So, personally, I was the one that played Atlas. I think that I agree with Levi. It was a very weird transitional process to try to figure out what exactly to make Atlas, because initially the entire idea came from, I want to say I did the drawing first. I had this idea of a skull, and I wanted a spellcaster that used a skull as a holy focus, a spell focus, something like that. And I was really into the idea of like seances and ghosts and kind of like drawing that power from the spirit realm. And so I dumped all of this stuff on Levi and was like, hey, how do I make this work? And I had this like long drawn out backstory that I'd written with like a bunch of NPCs and it was like a lot of not unnecessary because I enjoyed writing it, but it didn't get brought up very much because there really wasn't much to do with it. And so I don't know. I also did not expect Atlas's story going in the way that his did. I love the way that his story ended, but he just kind of started as, I wanted to be the healer. I wanted to be a caster. I wanted to keep my party alive because we have problems with that. So I was trying to fulfill the need of, we needed some kind of person to keep us up. And that kind of became his entire thing, was like, you're not dying until I tell you you can, which was a wonderful character trait that I think happened. But I was not expecting that because he was very quiet and reserved in the very, very beginning. And then it was an interesting progression to see him kind of come into his own. And also, like, the boy has rage issues. As for the campaign, I really don't know. I also didn't know what to expect with that either, because I was not able to be there for the session 0. So I was brought in, like, I was supposed to play, but I wasn't able to make it to the session. So my character was put in session 1 after all of them had already met each other. And I knew that we were on a different part of the continent, so all of the Vivian knowledge that we had absorbed from the last campaign was no longer relevant. So that also kind of shaped my expectation of like, okay, I don't know anything that I'm going into because this is a completely different landscape, completely different cultural thing. I also didn't know what other people were playing because we didn't talk about our characters together before we started playing at all. So for the campaign, I knew that we were in a different place and it was going to be weird because we were playing with a new set of rules, and trying to combine the new set of rules with the homebrew was interesting.
Yeah.
And also, something I didn't mention, but I do want to touch back on, is when I made Vivia 2, I didn't have like this whole, what I've done now with the campaign that you're currently playing, which I think is also kind of what Pertuset did, is I have set up sort of like this web of story where there's a top point on the web, which is the start, and there's a bottom point on the web, and in between there are all these different plot points that I want you to hit. They don't have to be in a specific order. They're just going to be plot points that you hit, and eventually you're going to make it to the other side of the web. So I have a bunch of different things that I know I want to happen within the story. And as they happen, they're going to cause other events to happen, which may not have been planned, that will lead into other things. I did not do that with Vivia 2. I said, here's the beginning. Not even here's the end. I said, here's the beginning, and I knew who the big bad was going to be, and that was it. That is what I started with.
Here's the beginning, here's the plot twist.
So it was a very loose, no structure to the story at all. It was what was made of it as it went along campaign. And like I said about the thing of expectations of it being a learning experience, I very much learned from Vivia 2. I don't want to do that again. I like having a looser story that allows you guys to do what you want within the bounds of the story. But I very much learned from Vivia 2 that in order to have the story be at least coherent and engaging, and for me to enjoy it more as a DM, there are certain things in the middle that you guys, I at least want you to hit, which I have now inserted. I've done that. I've changed my methods.
There is now a method to the madness.
Yes, precisely.
Silence card. Taryn,
Oh,
what were your expectations for your characters and the campaign?
okay. So I don't know what the fuck Neb was. I
Neither do we.
True.
I just wanted to play funny artificer, and it did not go very well. But I mean, other than that, the monk that I played was also just awful. And then finally hit stride on Shiro, which was nice. But other than that, yeah, it was
So you
the
just-
first half of the campaign was a struggle for me.
You straight up don't recall having any expectations for at least your first two characters?
Yeah, no, I literally do not.
Dang.
What about Shiro? What were your expectations for Shiro?
I thought that it would be fun because it was homebrew subclass for a homebrew warlock subclass, which ended up not working out very well, but that was solved pretty quickly.
We're not
So-
allowed to do homebrew anymore because
Not-
of me and Taryn.
Not for class stuff.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
still
For
do
spells,
items and
yeah.
spells.
But
And
yeah,
feats.
yeah, the homebrew subclass that I made was not great. It was not very well balanced.
It's hard to balance class and subclass stuff. That's why I say,
Yeah, it's difficult. So, yeah, but after I switched over to Wizard instead of Warlock, it started going very, very well and shaped the way that the rest of the campaign went. So, yeah.
And then what were your thoughts as Taryn about Vivia 2 going into it?
More D&D, thought it would be fun.
True. He's so
Like-
real for that.
like,
and his
that's it.
expectations were met too.
Exactly.
He did, in fact, get more D&D.
I'd like to interject. There is something that we should definitely be considering when we're talking about Vivia 2. I kind of visualize Vivia 2 of like there's a definite split between the first half of Vivia 2
Yes.
and how we played the game and how our
Yes.
characters interacted
100%.
versus the latter half, because I think that everyone played the same characters throughout, but I think that there was definitely a very different party dynamic and character interactions and character goals, and the way that people played their characters was very different in the second half versus the first half.
Mhm.
Because once we hit, I want to say like level 14 through 20, that was when it was like, okay, yes, I know who these people are. I know who these characters are. I know how this party works. Like, this is a group that exists in the world and exists together and works together.
I really think what did it for you guys was this is something
Dylan.
that I have done
Oh,
from time to time in my campaign's audience is I insert an adventure into the campaign and then just have them continue after it's over, so it's like a part of the story in the middle. So I inserted Descent into Avernus into my campaign, and they started it at level 10, and we're going to end it at level 13. And I really think Descent into Avernus was what hammered out the party dynamic and helped put it 100% together, and everyone understood who was doing what role and how people's personalities worked. And by the end of it, which would have been level 13, you all came out as a more tight-knit group.
Yeah.
Because I think definitely by that point, both clerics had figured out what their place in the party was and how they worked together. Taryn had finally figured out whatever was going on with him.
Mm-hmm.
Victor had
Yeah.
been solid for a couple levels. And then Finral got his bike, which was
Finral
the
got
defining
his bike.
character trait.
Yes.
I just liked it when we had Dylan.
Me too. I think that was also a very important element, was the addition of Dylan into the party, because I think
Yes.
that addition of Saladin really helped cement some of the other character dynamics within the party.
I just like Dylan.
We know.
He's very good at RP.
He's very good at RP.
No, I just like Dylan.
Well, we know. Okay. Well, what about you, big boss?
Ah! I don't know.
Gesundheit.
So for Victor, we've discussed this before. I had even made an outline that I had sent to Levi way back then about like the potential routes that Victor could go based on his backstory and what the party may do to change his mind.
This is true.
What I did not expect was for the world to change around Victor, which was my own folly. And as also previously mentioned, until I successfully play a villain 1 to 20, I'm gonna keep trying. Because I had planned Victor to be a villain, but the problem was that his villainy was based on doing something good and being mistaken. So as a result, once the mistake was resolved, he was just a good guy. He was a pretty good guy, in fact. Which was very interesting. I didn't intend on playing that, but it's what happened. And I tried to play him to his character as best as possible, even though there were moments where I was like, kill them. But Victor was like, no, what? Like, I was the little voice in Victor's head the whole time. But yeah, it turned out to be very interesting as a result. And I got a hot wife.
He did. Victor,
This is
in
true.
my opinion, out of all the two characters ascended to godhood at the end of this campaign, and I still think out of all the characters, Victor got the best deal out of all of it at the end.
I'll tell you what I told TJ the other night. Victor, stay on top except for in the bedroom. Which TJ and I were talking about that, and I think we should really discuss our character's sexual ideas.
Oh, do we need to
at some
RP
point.
that right now, real quick? Do
No,
We can do that in Vivia 3. We can
Yeah.
have that in-character discussion.
because I think I can say for a
Oh.
fact that canonically Victor was not a top. But anyway,
Well, that'll be Saturday. On Saturday, we will have that discussion in character.
nor was
during
he a
Vivia
power
3.
bottom either. He was just a bottom.
He's not
Dang.
generating the power in this
No.
relationship.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's
Sorry to
kind of
say it.
crazy. Okay. But yeah, no, for audience context, Victor Pertuset was the only one brave enough to raise me up
It's true.
during the campaign. So he got an NPC girlfriend who was a really high level cleric. And then at the end of the campaign, they got married and they had kids. And
Yeah.
Victor basically just got to live out the rest of his life mostly in peace. If he would have chosen to, he could have lived out a completely peaceful life after that. He did not choose to. He chose to continue pursuing what he
chose violence.
perceived as evil after that. But it could have been, for the most part, a generally peaceful life after that.
See, I keep forgetting that's an option.
Yeah.
As far as the campaign expectations, I knew it was a sequel to Vivia. I knew it was another continent. I knew Levi, so I assumed. But of course, what I'm about to say is like, man correctly guesses baseball is being played at Fenway Park. I knew the campaign was gonna have to do with demons and devils.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
and I knew that the moon goddess was going to play a huge part in it. But again, that's also very Fenway Park. But that's all I could expect. Otherwise, honestly, I was hoping when you let us choose where our starting location was, and you said one of the two very important big countries or a third one, and I said let's all do the third one. I was hoping that was going to throw a giant monkey wrench into the works, but I don't think it did. Sadly.
At this point, it's been so long that I can't remember what my plans were for the other two.
Because we started in Rocketon, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
We could have started in Human Land or Elf Land or Rocketon.
I had like a
Mm.
little scenario for each starting area. I don't remember what the other two were at this point because once you picked one, I was like, okay, don't have to worry about the other two. Scrap them, get rid of them. But the starting scenario for Rocketon was it was in the middle of a civil war, which ended up getting resolved, which I didn't know if you guys were going to resolve that or not.
That was the other thing about Alice. I forgot that it was really important he was a half elf because it was never actually relevant.
mm,
I just picked Bulbasaur.
yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I had. The rest of it was like, oh, I'm learning how to play D&D 5th edition. That was all I had.
Yeah.
All right, your turn, Taryn.
For what?
I don't know.
Your campaign that you ran.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Olympus?
I guess I'll go. Yeah.
Okay.
Regarding the campaign itself, as mentioned before, I knew who the villain was. I like Levi's web analogy. I knew events that were going to happen in between, because the thing with they're leaving my head. I don't know. I'm Alzheimer's.
If you'd like to start over, I will cut this entire thing
No,
out.
it's the Monster King. The Monster King.
Typhon?
Typhon?
Yeah, Typhon. See what I said? It's going. Him in the first session going through the time portal. While that was planned to happen, I did not plan to do it in session 1, but I felt like I did not have your attention, so I was like, I'm gonna get their attention. I distinctly recall that. Otherwise, for the world, the one expectation I had that you guys did defy was I expected you to fight Chirexo, which never did happen.
Nope.
He's our bestie.
Sadly.
Nope.
But oh well. He missed out on a cool fight. He had 3 casts of Wish.
Man, that would have been so
Fun.
cool. I bet we would have had so much fun, guys.
If he ever did run out of stuff, he also had like Dimension Door.
Cosmo
and
cast
Misty
silence on
Stab.
him.
That would have been a problem. A very big problem, actually.
Cosmo cast silence. All the melees proceed to just beat him up. The
I
4
would've had-
melees.
I would have had to have looked up the rule of whether or not a spell cast from an item uses verbal components, which would have been a blast. But anyway. I'm trying to think if there were any other expectations about the campaign generally that I had. I don't think so. As for characters, I fully expected Xamda to kill Arlo.
I did
Yeah.
too.
Very soon. Yeah.
I
'Cause
thought immediately.
I've shared the story before. I don't know if I've done it on the podcast, where I read Jordan's backstory first, which was I'm a satyr, which is considered a monster kin in this world. I am an ex-Dionysus cult member.
Technically still a Dionysus cult member at that point, just not with her cult.
I have preyed upon innocent passersby.
I
and
didn't
then
learn that immediately.
No.
I
but
kept
then
that hidden for a
read-
while.
Then the next thing I read was Xamda's backstory, which was I'm a stalwart paladin. People around me died due to monsters. I've sworn vengeance on all monsters. I was like, holy moly, they're gonna kill each other, and I'm gonna make it happen.
And now
But I
they're
didn't.
best friends forever.
Yeah.
True.
I did fully expect Darkness to die pretty early on, given that it was Darkness.
Yeah.
But
Surprisingly lasted really long. What was it, level 9 when we lost Darkness?
I can't remember. I
I think
can't.
it was level 9.
Something like that.
Yeah. whenever Terran said that he was playing a Blood Hunter, I expected that not to last the whole campaign.
And it did not. It
It
lasted
did
until
not.
level 7.
Whenever Dylan said he was playing, I expected him to be the best thing in the campaign, and I was right.
Correct.
Oh my god.
No. Terran's getting sick of me.
Oh.
I don't know, actually. I didn't know what I expected whenever he joined. I remember telling Levi that he made me do a bunch of work because he introduced a whole new faction of stuff that I had to make.
He did do that. This is true.
My expectation for him, I didn't actually know. I thought he was going to be a welcome addition to the group, though, because he added a dynamic that I didn't think was previously there, which was somebody to challenge Zamda.
True.
Which was fun and nice. Tim was great. What can you say about Tim?
Rest in
Tim.
peace.
Hot dog hat.
Is he? I don't think he's dead. I don't think, given how the campaign ended, I don't think like anyone's dead, actually.
Rest in peace, Tim.
Rest in power. Yeah. What can you say?
I mean, I guess I'll start since I already started talking. Sorry.
Go for it.
So if it hasn't been established yet, I played Zamda, who was a paladin, human paladin, and my whole story was I had been a player before this, but I hadn't been a player for like any 1 to 20 campaigns before this. And I had actually played Zamda before briefly as a devotion paladin in a campaign that Dylan was running. But it was only for like 3 sessions. And I was like level 2 the whole time. So I didn't get to do much. So I was like, okay, well, Pertuset's getting ready to do his campaign. I'll just put Zamda in that campaign, but I'll like completely change her backstory and everything. Which, spoiler alert, first Zamda didn't have a backstory. She was just a paladin. So I was like, you know what? It might be corny. It might be cheesy, but this is my first time being a player. I want to play a story I want my character to have a backstory that I will enjoy, even if it's a like really dead horse of a trope. Right? So I had her be the last remaining heir to a fallen kingdom, which is the kingdom of humans was wiped out by a big disaster years before the campaign took place. And so I had her be the Aragorn, the Moses, actually. Did I ever tell you that, Pertusa? That her initial how she escaped story was inspired by Moses?
No, but I can see
really?
Her family spirited her away in a basket onto a lake when mankind was wiped out nearly, and she was adopted by halflings. And her identity was hidden from her whole life, and she never knew that she was human, much less the last of the royal line. And so that story got to unfold the whole time. But then also I put in the part of like, I'm going to have her be this really vengeful, angry character early on because of what has happened to her when she was old enough to remember things, which is basically her family were a bunch of lumberjacks and they went into a forest they shouldn't have gone into to cut down some wood because they were like, oh, there's no competition over there because no one goes into those forests. I wonder why. And then they all got murdered except for her. She escaped. And so that was her. That was where her paladin oath came from. She was originally, I think she was an Oath of the Watchers.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I hate anything that's not mortal. I want those out of here, which is what Watchers generally are. And yeah, that defined her early character. So she ended up doing things like, which she was very conflicted for a lot of the decisions she made over the course of the story, because she was trying to find that balance of, I'm a paladin, I should be a good person doing good things, but what is my definition of good necessarily? So she did things early on like killing children. which was a big meme for the whole campaign. They never let me live that one down,
Baby
guys.
killer.
They never let me live that one down for the whole
did do that.
campaign, like 17 levels after
Damn
that
the
happened.
Baby killer Rusin, baby.
They did not let me live that down, but
Which is hilarious considering that I was actually a serial child kidnapper.
Yeah, I killed a baby to end a curse. Not a baby. It was a child. It was like a
child.
4 or 5-year-old child to end a curse that was placed upon a town because he was like basically the Horcrux that was keeping the curse going. And so Zamda made the executive decision and killed the child. And then because she made that kind of decision, I didn't really play too much into it, but it was sort of my own headcanon that over the course of the entire story, she was having like an internal moral war within herself of like, am I a good person? And have the things I've done been good? Which is not what I expected going into the campaign that I was going to have to do. Honestly, I kind of expected her to retain her sort of holier than thou persona for most of the campaign, which in a way she kind of did, but not in the way I thought she was going to, which is she was just going to keep it in like the literal upfront sense. But by the end of the campaign, I was kind of having her do it as like almost like a funny jab at her own what used to be insecurities, which led her to have that holier than thou attitude. But yeah, no, I mean, I was extremely satisfied by where she ended up. I did want her to eventually reclaim her crown and become queen, which funnily enough, when we were like in the middle levels area, I had decided that she did not want that anymore, which was radically different than what Levi wanted. I kind of that was kind of a thing that like what happened with Victor, which is a lot of stuff had happened and she like Pertuset and I are the only two people that are not true. Actually, Dylan was willing to go that extra step and get a NPC person that he was in a relationship with, but I did it first. No, but yeah, no. She met an NPC who she ended up falling in love with, and she was like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give up everything to be with him once this is over, and I'll be happy. I'll be satisfied." And then we got closer to the end. And then because of the way her character had developed from being this very vengeful person to now being like, I've gone through so much. I've had like 2 major mental breakdowns. And when she had her second kind of character meltdown, her mindset went to, I don't care what happens. I'm going to save the fucking world no matter what happens. No matter what I have to do, no matter who I have to kill or who I have to protect, I'm either dead or I'm getting rid of this problem that is in front of us right now. And so because of that attitude that she had at the end of the campaign, she kind of also took up this mantle of like, now there's no one to like govern the world anymore. And I was once ready to try to do that. Maybe I should for entirely different reasons now, which is she kind of felt like there needed to be a figure that could step in and lead the people of a literally shattered world at the end of things. So
Aaron.
In a roundabout way, I came back to what my original ambition for the character was, but for completely different reasons. So that's what happened with my expectations. I yapped for a while there. Someone else talk.
Hey, one of my favorite things about Olympus that I think I pulled off successfully is for the first half, or at least for the first third maybe, everybody was on board to be like, this is the funny campaign.
Yeah.
But I think by the end, everyone was like, this isn't funny anymore.
No.
And I'm glad I managed to do that.
Definitely pulled a switcheroo.
By the time we got halfway through, when he continued doing things that would have been considered funny, it was like we were insulted by it because we were like, this is not funny anymore.
Not
Stop
funny
trying to
anymore.
do the funny stuff.
It's a cosmic joke.
Yeah. So the continuing
Oh.
to do the funny stuff only compounded like the seriousness of
It
it
turned into
as the
horror.
campaign went on because our characters were like, this is absurd.
Yeah. The power of comedy, especially when it's not welcomed. Oh, it's like
He's
telling
just
a
the
knock knock
wine
joke at a
dude.
funeral.
No, he's not.
All right. Taryn,
Yeah.
what did you expect from Olympus?
Okay. Again, this came at the time of excited to play more D&D, so expectations met at beginning of campaign. But after that, once I got into the second character, because the first one was again a mess as usual,
I thought
it was
Erebus was
pretty good.
interesting.
Erebus was interesting. It just playing a blood hunter sucks. That's the main issue there.
Yeah.
No, otherwise
This
Yeah.
time?
it was good.
I should have made you do like a fighter of some sort, but oh well.
Oh my god.
Did you have any again, I'll ask you what Pertuset asked you for Shiro. Did you have any expectations for Iris once you were transferred from Blood Hunter to Monk? Or were you kind of just
From
like,
one-
I'm making another
one
character
bad
now?
class to another. No, it was just idea for a character that I had floating around for a while. Just
Okay.
go ahead, do it.
What were
That's
your
about it.
expectations when you met Midas?
I remember we encountered him on the road and just gave him some money and he left. And this was when we were separated from Iris and Darkness. And so I thought we were never going to see Midas ever again after that. I was like, man, I thought that basically it was an encounter Pertusa had set up and we had to do something specific to get what he wanted to happen, and we failed. We didn't do what he wanted. So like the old guy just walked away and we were like, oh, okay, whatever.
See, I didn't even think that. I thought that was like, oh, this is Pertuset just putting in King Midas because, oh, it's a story. Look at King Midas, guys. What?
So what were your
Random
expectations,
encounter.
Taryn, with Midas?
Did you
I
expect
like
him
the
to
old
be-
man.
Did you expect
know.
him to be your special bear by the end?
Yes,
First met
fully.
him, you knew it, love at first sight.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's like Erebus in that one chair.
I forgot about the chair.
You had a tendency for finding your favorite things and tying them to your character. Quite
Oh,
literally,
Yeah.
tying
so that
them
they
to
could
you.
never get away.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right,
Crazy how that works out, huh?
true. Jordan?
Okay. So I played Arlo. We've mentioned that before. I had expectations for Arlo going in, but I genuinely could not have imagined, nor could I be more pleased with where she ended up, because her character progression was like met and then exceeded expectations 10 times over. Because the original idea of Arlo, I knew that I didn't want her to be bad. I didn't want to play a villain. I did want to be kind of an antagonistic force. Because yes, she fell out of a tree and decided to try to be a good person, but this was a person who has absolutely no baseline for what that looks like. And so there was a lot of character growth. I did not foresee her and Zamda becoming as close as they did. I don't think that the Three Musketeers was something that I anticipated in any capacity.
No. But I will say, just how like at the end of the story, we got revealed to us fourth wall breakily that Zamda was the only person Hector considered actually a Ravenwing, which was his mercenary group that he headed. When the Three Musketeers thing happened, it immediately boosted Zamda's opinion of Hector and Arlo by a massive amount for the fact that they came after Zamda and then were like, we're gonna help you. Because for the record, what happened, I almost called them players, listeners.
What happened, chat?
Yeah, chat. What happened
Chat.
was that Zamda, we've mentioned this before. I keep saying that. We've mentioned a lot of things on this podcast, but Zamda's parents got kidnapped. And so Zamda was like, I'm going after him, and bolted, ditching the party, basically. And you would think, wouldn't you, that the whole party would be like, man, we should go after her and help her get her parents back. Only half did that, though. And that half was Arlo and Hector, who showed up, found Zamda after she was like exhausted and couldn't move anymore. And they were like, we're coming with you. We're going to get them back. We're going to save them. And so they were forever ingratiated in Zamda's heart for that.
The other notable detail about that is the fact that the people that kidnapped Zamda's parents were Arlo's cult that she ran away from. It was the cult leader
as a way to get to Arlo through the party.
So that was another big that honestly, that was a point where like I don't know what happened, because Jordan was fully like, no, there's no way in hell that she would go after. She ran away from the cult. Oh no, Arlo got high and followed Zamda into the woods. Okay, I guess that's what we're doing now.
No, but also you guys just left. So neither, I think, mine or TJ's character knew where you went, so that's why we weren't with you. But yeah,
We're also brand new to the party.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Darkness wasn't.
No.
Darkness wasn't, but I was. So.
But no, kind of pushing off of Levi's like the cyclical nature of D&D with the backstories. I thought it was really interesting the progression from the person that Arlo was at the very beginning to the person that Arlo was at the end, because I don't think that her personality, like, it did change, but at the same time it very much didn't, which was an interesting dichotomy, because she was always the same, like, goofy, kind of ditzy, all of that stuff, but there was at a certain point that there was a realization that like she needed to be doing something better, and also all of the bad things that she did were her fault and also weren't her fault in a way. And so her trying to like basically kill herself to make up for the bad things that she did by throwing herself into these like world-ending, life-ending situations wasn't actually helping anybody, which was an interesting progression. I don't know if this is coherent or making any sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Undertale-ism, right? You start out the adventure and you say, it's you.
It's you.
And then by the end, it's after everything, it's still you.
That's, well, I think the best way that can be summed up is we all know that I write a lot for my characters. I write stories of like their thoughts in between sessions, and I write a lot of prequels, and in Atlas's case I write a lot of sequels. But like towards the beginning of the campaign I had written a kind of a snapshot of Arlo's last night with the cult. The reason that Arlo left was she had been having doubts for a while, but then some kind of force pushed her out of a tree. She had a really, really bad night at a Dionysus revel, and she got really drunk. She climbed a tree looking for answers, and then she fell out of the tree. And we found out at the very, very end who exactly pushed her out of the tree, which I loved that reveal. But I thought it was a very fitting end that she started the campaign falling out of a tree, and she ended the campaign jumping off of Olympus, which made my heart very happy. Just the cinematic parallels there.
Yeah. Is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Oh, wait, are we going to let TJ talk about Kazuma?
No.
Okay. We're doing Vivia 3? We're going to talk about Vivia 3?
Yeah.
Well, this time we just have
just the beginning.
Prior expectations.
Yeah, just the beginning. Okay. Well, I will also have to keep from like spoiling anything because you guys are
don't have to.
actively
Nope,
okay, well, the
just say
BBAG
everything.
no.
I knew it.
So I will tell you guys this because I haven't told you this yet. I think I figured out exactly what type of setting my campaign setting is. So, of course, you've probably heard of Grimdark as a
Yeah.
setting. Have you heard of Noble Bright as a setting?
It sounds like it's just the opposite of
It's-
that.
It's the
Yeah.
opposite of Grimdark, but that's not what mine is. Now, those kids, those Gen Z and those Gen Alpha have come up with an even newer term that combines both together to create Noble Dark.
What about Grimbright?
And Grimbright would be the same thing as Noble Dark.
Ah.
Which is the idea that, because originally I was like, yeah, my setting's pretty much high fantasy. It's like Lord of the Rings type stuff where like there's definitely good people and bad people and yada yada. But when I started making Vivia 3, like I said about Vivia 2, I was very much like, this time I really want there to be a big overarching story that has like connect the dots points and things tie in together, and it's not just this throwing paint at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so for any story like that, you're going to have characters that aren't just straight black and white. I'm a good person, I'm a bad person. You're going to want to have some morally gray characters in there. I like to do a mix of all of those, though, where there are just straight up bad and good people as well as gray people, because I feel like that's a reflection of real life. I feel like there are people in the real world who are just good people or bad people. And there are some people who are a mixed bag. That's the majority of people, are people who are a mixed bag. But sometimes you find those dark pits and those bright brights. So, to get back to the point, what Noble Dark is supposed to be is the setting has sort of the grittiness and dangers that are present in Grimdark, where everything's nasty all the time and there's all these evil horrors that constantly terrorize people. And creatures that lurk in the night and don't go too far into the wilderness because there's strange things that lurk in the woods. Kind of similar to I'd say like The Witcher, or maybe more like a low fantasy in that regard, where there are monsters abound, right? But where Noble Dark differs is that you're not constantly getting beat over the head with, and it sucks. Everyone hates living in this world all the time, and life stinks, and peasants scrounge in the dirt every day just to get killed by a troll every Thursday that runs through town and murders everyone, and it's awful and bad and gritty, and it makes you sad. No. Instead, it's, yeah, there are some things in this world that really suck. And there are people who are willing to give everything they have to fight to make it a better place. That's where the noble part comes from in Noble Dark. And so that's kind of what I've been shooting for. That's my expectations that I've set out generally with the making of Vivia 3, as it has been coined, even though the last two campaigns have not taken place in Vivia, which is a subcontinent of a larger continent. Which this campaign does not even take place on anymore. 2 did. 3 is not.
It's such a good name, though.
I did enjoy it a lot when I made it, so it's kind of just stuck the whole time. But yes, the general idea of the campaign that I'm going for is there are a lot of good things in the world. There are also a lot of horrible things in the world, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You got to face reality sometimes and say, man, that sucks that these things are happening. But at the end of the day, there are going to be people who are going to rise to the challenge and try to overcome those things. And that's something that I think you're going to see time and time again in the story going forward, or at least I'm going to try to portray that, as well as also trying to portray the other side of it, which is, and sometimes those people fail, and that's just a fact. But sometimes they succeed too.
Yeah. My expectation is it's going to involve dragons. Next question.
Brother, you'd be wrong.
Yeah.
No.
Dang it.
It's not like I
they-
haven't said hundreds of times, guys, this is the dragon campaign. I'm not doing demons and devils anymore, guys.
That's just a fate. That's just a
Sure.
fate. We've already encountered a dang Modron.
They're all actually just shapeshifted demons and devils. They've all been turned into dragons.
Oh,
I know that it might be hard without being super spoilery, but do you have any character specific expectations like in other campaigns, or is that something you cannot share because it's plot spoily?
Can't share it because I'm gonna win.
What? What'd you say?
That too.
Nothing.
I don't have ideas for everyone, but I have general ideas for a couple of characters of where I think they're going to end up. Obviously, whatever you guys do could be drastically different. But I from the ways I have put my own spin on your character stories, I have envisioned for some of you, particularly the ones who have given me more detailed character stories, where I think, based on what I know is going to eventually happen, you're going to end up at the end of things. So I will say, as of right now, I won't say where I think it's going to end up, but I will say Caiaphas, Ren, Medley, and Brandon. I have a general idea of where I think each of you is going to stand by probably about level 15-ish. And then after that, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen after that. Just because circumstances are probably going to get a little wacky, a little wild, you know? But yeah, I don't... Odin and Sylvie are a little too much of wild cards for me to really know what they're going to do or how they're going to interact with the things I put in front of them. Like when Sylvie just straight up revealed to a group of antagonists where a member of the party was because they offered to pay her 100 gold to do it. Which completely threw me for a loop, and I didn't think that was going to happen at all, but here we are.
All I'm saying is this is reinforcing Caiaphas' story because that's quite literally happened to him. But for cheaper. Taryn, I gotta know your expectations. Are you expecting more D&D this time?
I mean, yeah.
We're switching to Pathfinder. Sorry to burst your bubble.
Mm-hmm.
No. No, I was excited for this campaign a lot because I just like the character concept I'm working with. So
It is interesting. You are a creature.
You are
Yes.
a creature. You are the
Yeah.
creature.
yeah.
La creatura.
Expectations, Jordan?
I also expect to play more D&D.
Hell yeah.
With what we talked about beforehand, I'm kind of hoping for the inclination that I'm seeing, and with a lot of people's like backstories and stuff, I'm thinking we might be leaning towards a more intrigue. What were you putting on your camera?
We're
just
playing a game.
magical item that I haven't
We're-
shown or given to you guys yet.
Mine says $16. I owe TJ $16 for pizza. Anyway.
It feels like we're heading towards more of an intrigue type thing, which is a little different from what we've done in the past, and I'm interested in it because usually, I mean, we are a group that like sometimes we will have sessions where we just do not roll dice because we're so busy talking to each other and talking to NPCs and interacting with the world, but we haven't done a whole lot of like mystery solving and intrigue and trying to figure out like deception and that kind of stuff. Like that's not a realm that we've tapped into a whole lot, and I think that it's interesting if that is in fact the way we are headed.
Temple's Raven.
May not even be the way you are headed. You might be in it already.
True.
And you
we
just
may be, and I
don't
just don't know
know.
yet.
Pertuset?
I disagree.
Okay. He
There's gonna be
knows. He knows
dragons.
everything that's going to happen already.
There's gonna be dragons. There's gonna be D&D.
I thought you were just going to say there's going to be dragons again.
No.
You know,
and at
he's
this
right.
And at this rate, I stay on top. So long as I don't freaking die, which it seems like the party is too keen to let happen, though, after that mud method. So
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm actively trying to make sure we don't die. The dice are just not in my favor.
Already, audience,
Yeah.
we've gotten such a great campaign meme, which is the Giga Chad method.
The indomitable Mephit
The
spirit.
indomitable method that they fought in a combat and
I
like an
can't.
entire round went by. Listen, you don't understand my
Nobody
perspective
hit.
as the DM.
I'm
They
just
killed.
taking things out.
They had killed everything. There was a mud hulk, there were other mud methods, and there was just this one. It was the first one that came into the combat. And there was an entire round where they all just whiffed him. Like 5 different people tried to attack him and they all missed.
Magic missiles stay winning.
This trend of like dice rolls is really not doing it for my character. Because I mean, we haven't talked a whole lot about the characters for this campaign yet, but I'm playing a swashbuckler, and they're supposed to be lucky. They're a little cocky. They're charismatic. I can't hit for shit because of my dice.
Oops.
We're
the lucky feet.
We're only what, 6 sessions in at this point? 5 sessions
I don't
in?
know. I haven't updated
I
the
can't
document.
hit anything.
It'll change eventually. Hey, you might get at least 50% of the campaign that's good rolls, which means you just have to wait until level 10.
There we go.
50% of the time, it
And that's
hits
when it matters.
100% of the time.
Exactly.
Math.
All right.
Chicken
Well,
of the cave.
any closing thoughts on Vivia 3 or
Vivia 3?
expectations in general?
already
My
said mine.
expectation is that we will change Pertuset's mind with the power of friendship.
It's not looking good already.
No, it's not.
looking
It's
good.
really not.
Level
It's not.
3. You're only level 3. You got a while. Maybe. And
Hey,
then Medley can just be the
join
evil
me.
one because apparently she shifts her alignment towards evil with slight bullying every session. So
Not
Hey,
even
just
It was
bullying.
join
more
me.
than slight
Questions.
bullying. I
tough
no.
skin, I think.
They were just hazing you a little.
I don't know. I'll ask the same question as of Levi. Does anybody have any character specific expectations that they can share without being super duper spoilers? Just as a final wrap up thought.
I think I'm gonna get to cast Wish at least once. Me, not you.
I don't like that.
You might. I don't know.
Can I
Will
cast
I?
Wish? Will I?
Probably not.
Will I?
No, neither of you
Will I?
will.
That's what I said.
Because clerics don't get it, and you just know. You just
But can I get it?
Can I?
no.
Will you wear wigs?
When will you no? When will you cast Wish?
When can I, the Marshal, cast Wish?
When you decide to be in Vivia 4 as a retired adventurer who's lost all their levels and is now trying something different.
That's my expectation is Vivia 4 continuing the trend of not being in Vivia for Vivias as we keep going through Vivias. Vivia 4 should be Vivia 4 in space.
Agreed, because there won't be a planet anymore.
I've told you guys before, right, that I've considered doing a Call of Cthulhu that takes place in a modernized Vivia world.
That would
Have I
be
told
sick
you
as
that?
fuck, and I totally support this idea.
That's something I've thought about. That
So
might be
long
a
as
Vivia
it doesn't
4
Can
actually
we?
happen in Vivia, because I think it'd be funny to continue calling them Vivia, but not
Does
be in
not
Vivia
have it in
anymore.
Vivia.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And can Saladin be the great unknowable old one?
Maybe.
That old.
We'll have to find. Is that your expectation that you're setting, Jordan, right now?
For the
Is
Call
that
of Cthulhu
Saladin?
campaign?
Yeah.
If Saladin and Atlas don't get to make appearances as like horrifying eldritch abominations, I don't want to play.
Okay,
Be
that's your
careful.
expectation.
I was gonna say I'd be careful with the Call of Cthulhu and those two because there very well could be that Levi says, "Oh yeah, some new entities appeared and killed both of them."
No, I want to
Some
be the
eldritch
entity.
beings.
Okay, by that point, if it's a modernized Vivia, Atlas has been in the Feywild for how fucking long? He'd
So
be
that's-
so messed up.
That's Pertuset's expectation, is that there will just be new creatures, new great old
If
entities.
it's gonna be Call of Cthulhu, yeah, bring the crawling chaos Nyarlathotep in to just eat someone. I don't know.
I want to be the monster.
The anime version?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think Atlas will be satisfied if that's the case.
And what are your expectations for the Call of Cthulhu campaign, Taryn?
Don't say more D&D. You'll be
It's
wrong.
not D&D.
You would
Call of
just be
Cthulhu.
wrong this time.
Well, I guess my expectations aren't gonna be met this time.
Dang.
In any case, I have zero expectations of now because the campaign's still being built. But I do have something to share with you if you look under your seats right now.
Taryn?
Huh?
It's
I
it's just
can-
my extra
I'm there.
inhalers.
I do have the document prepared, and I do have a little intro blurb, just like I did for Olympus.
Send it, send it, send
I'm
it, send it,
not
send it. I
sending
want to read
but
it.
I'm just gonna read it for you, okay? It says the following. What do you believe in? Do you believe in the power of the gods, which you have seen with your own eyes? Do you believe in their power without having seen it? Perhaps you don't believe in any deity, but how strongly do you believe they aren't deific? Do you believe in people? Do you believe in good, evil, order, chaos, friends, family? What do you believe in? Discover your belief in this D&D 5e campaign.
Interesting.
Now, what are your expectations? Taryn? I bet I already got you covered, my man. You already know.
Big dog.
My expectations for this are we're gonna switch to Pathfinder for it.
I'm gonna
Yeah!
kill you.
Oh. Well, from that little opening blurb, my expectations are there's going to be a lot of stories and plot lines surrounding the power of belief and what it's capable of. Huh?
Does anybody else just not hear him?
Nope.
Yeah, no.
There you go.
Okay. You know what that made me think of?
I said you'd probably be right if I could start writing those stories, those plot lines.
Jordan.
Jordan.
I'm thinking. Because I'm also, so I completely I didn't completely scrap, but I'm rewriting my character that I had ready for this campaign based on new information.
I was gonna say, as you oughta, because there's gonna be new info coming.
But I'm kind of taking it down to the bare bones. It's the same general idea, but I have some different stuff.
Yeah.
I just have class and race picked out.
I feel like I see that the thing is, I know we're going in with a bunch of different pantheons being present, and my expectation is that is going to somehow lead to inter-party conflict, whether we want it to or not. I feel like something is going to come to blows over the just existence of the sheer number of entities.
We'll see. We'll see how many of you play clerics and paladins or otherwise faithful, not clerics and paladins.
Me.
Yeah.
I'm doing both at the same time this time, multi-class.
Ew.
I'm
That's
playing a
bad.
warlock.
Ew.
Wizard.
Yeah, Taryn
Ew.
robbed me of wizard, so I'm not allowed
You
to play
can
wizard
still
anymore.
take it.
We can have more
Mm-mm.
than one thing.
Nope, that is horrible party comp. I ain't doing that.
Wow, imagine having two clerics in the same party.
I will also tell you, I've told this information to Dylan while we were discussing stuff at Colossal Con. And I'm going to tell you this, Taryn, because I don't want you to get too excited. Don't pick your race now, because
Okay.
every country, which you have to pick which one you're from, has a certain amount of races you can choose from.
Okay.
So you
Okay,
might be
race doesn't
screwed.
matter too much for it.
What if I have a compelling argument for why I should be allowed to be the one that I already picked?
I did put a stipulation in there that if you're going to play one that otherwise it's not listed in there, just be prepared to be a freaking medley.
That's
In your
that's
own
the plan.
world.
Okay, that's fine. That's my idea.
I haven't picked
Everybody
race yet at
just
all, so-
plays humans again in this campaign, even though you
Yeah!
said no
Even
humans.
humans are not common.
Yeah!
Humans only common in 2 of the countries.
Well,
So.
humans
that's
weren't
what you thought
necessarily
last
common
time.
in Olympus, and
Yeah.
we saw how that turned
But
out.
you know how that went.
I can see it now. I am a filthy, non-pointy-eared.
We're all actually conspiring against you. This is a grand conspiracy that's been going on since the early days of Olympus, where we've all
I'm
decided
just gonna start killing you, your characters.
What if though
Already
we
did
keep
that.
being like, I will only play if you let me play a human.
I'm gonna let you start as a human, and then you're gonna step on a button that makes you into a Hadozi.
That's what my character did, but not a
Instant
Hadozi.
seppuku. I cannot stand to be anything but a human. I'm
Then
going
the
to
cycle
ingrain that into
repeats.
every. That's my character expectation for my character.
Yeah.
Pertuset is that they will always be a human, and if they are not, they are immediately going to kill themselves.
So Levi and Dylan are playing humans again. Got it.
I don't know about me. I'm just joking. I think Dylan actually is going to, though.
Probably.
Hmm.
Mine
Right.
starts out as humans. Something very bad just happens.
Now, you know what my expectations are right now?
What are your expectations right now?
That I'm gonna get some mint chocolate chip ice cream. Come on,
Can I have some?
everybody.
No, I actually got to go work out.
Mm.
That's what I'm.
I gotta go to bed.
I also don't really like mint ice cream that much.
It's the best flavor. Hey, we hope you enjoyed the episode you just listened to. If you really like our content, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications on YouTube, and look for us on Spotify. If you'd like to see us continuing to do more fun projects in the future, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can find our page linked in the description above all of our other social media links. And finally, if you'd like to keep up with the zany shenanigans of our lives and check out some more skit-based content and things like that, check us out on Twitter and TikTok, links in the description. And hey, thanks!